Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, the 6th or the 5th? I think it's the 6th. Yep, the 6th, and Channel News this morning, live from Michigan. We didn't get too much snow. Looks like it's clear right now. So we got lucky last night. So don't really have much going on today. So I got a lot of good stuff. Another day of great intel. Hope everybody's having a good work day and Friday. So yeah, everybody's at work. I find it. Yep. So I'm just going ahead and get started. A lot of good stuff to get out. Hope everyone's having a good work day. Get you some good news out there this morning. Okay, what we got? We got the X2 report coming up from yesterday. No mail yet. We do have some important update. A big accident. A train accident. This will be about 11 minutes.
Breaking news. 14 train cars derailed in Mansfield. Some of those cars are now in the river. We're joined right now live by Luke Hydash, who is your reporter live at the scene. So, Luke, what can you tell us about what's going on out there right now in Mansfield?
Roger, quite the large emergency response right now. Give you a look down here along those tracks where those 14 cars derailed a little bit earlier this morning. We know at least 5 of them, DEEP tells us, have actually gone down into the Willimantic River, which is a little bit beyond those tracks there. Now, we do know that there is a shelter-in-place order for a half-mile radius of 1090 Stafford Road, and that is for possible hazardous gas leak. Now, there are a number of cars that have gone off the tracks here, and we know that they're carrying a variety of things, some propane, some lumber, some grain, some grease, and because of that propane, well, that is why that shelter in place is being ordered right now as emergency crews arrive here and assess this situation and figure out exactly what the course of action is going to be over the next few hours as they try and get these cars upright, back out of the water even, and onto the tracks. But again, that half-mile radius of this area of 1090 Stafford Road is where that shelter in place has been ordered. There was talk a little bit earlier this morning of doing an evacuation for that half-mile radius, but that has since been scaled back to that shelter in place as emergency crews get here and figure out the best course of action over the next few hours.
And Luke, thank you for setting the stage for us. I do want to ask you, obviously Mansfield is a relatively rural community. What is the area like where these crews are working at right now, where this derailment happened? Is it a place where a lot of people live, or is it relatively remote?
A lot of farmland, very remote Of course, there are homes in this area, not too many. We're a couple of miles away from the main Yukon Stores campus. We're between the routes here of 44 and down near Eagleville, Route 275. So it's a big stretch of 32 that's closed right now as emergency crews get here and assess this situation and make sure that everybody is safe. We have heard, of course, that no injuries were reported in all of this. Of course, this being a freight train, only imagine the crew was aboard. Have not heard how many people were on these trains here as this came off, but again, no injuries this morning here in Mansfield.
Yeah, Luke, that is certainly the good news that no one was hurt. I do have to ask you though, we mentioned the possible environmental impact. I know Deep is on the scene. We're talking about liquefied natural gas. It's unclear, at least from our vantage point, if any of that liquefied natural gas may have spilled. In fact, I can't tell you that the New Central Railroad has issued a statement saying that there's no indication that the cars are leaking, but obviously Deep's still taking the situation very seriously. Have they talked at all about what the possible environmental impact could be?
I think that's something that they are still assessing right now and trying to figure out. Of course, we are fairly close to this scene where this happened right now. And given the fact that they're allowing the people who live and work around here to stay in their homes and shelter in place, that tells me that there's really no immediate danger. We have not heard exactly whether or not any of these cars did break or leak or have a crack in it, anything along those lines when they went off the tracks earlier this morning.
Now,
but
Luke,
of course, going off that earlier with DEP, you were saying, Roger, a second ago, with them being here, the other component to this is the Willimantic River is right down there beyond the tracks, and we know at least 5 of the train cars are, in fact, in the river or on the bank going down to the river, and that is another reason DEP is here to assess that situation as well.
Luke, obviously you're a photographer. Al Worst have been doing a good job showing us not only the site of the derailment, but you also were showing us how many emergency responders are there on the scene. Do you have any idea of just how many agencies could be involved, or is this a situation that is kind of still growing by the minute?
Okay. Say you have a low credit score and you want a credit card that helps you.
What the heck? Oh, that's good enough. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it was a train update, big update on that. No injuries. Okay, moving on to the next big story. Update, Carol, from Samantha. 9 minutes. Or Savannah.
Savannah posting this video of her brother Cameron directly to the person or people who potentially took their 84-year-old mother.
We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom.
The video was posted just minutes after the first of 2 deadlines on a reported ransom note sent to 3 news outlets, according to the FBI.
The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday.
The special agent in charge says the FBI is still investigating the legitimacy of the ransom note, which he says referenced in Apple Watch and floodlights information that was publicly available. But the note did not include any contact information.
In a normal kidnapping case, there would be contact by now.
Authorities also arresting a man they say sent a hoax ransom demand to Savannah's sister Annie and brother-in-law.
To those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation, we will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions.
Now entering the 6th day of the search, authorities still have no suspect or person of interest in the case. But they did release a more detailed timeline of the night Nancy disappeared. They say at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnected. At 2:12, software detected movement on a camera. And at 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnected. Authorities also confirming blood found on the porch was Nancy's. The sheriff tells us investigators do not have the doorbell security camera from Nancy Guthrie's house and have not been able to access any surveillance footage from the home.
What gives you hope that Nancy is still out there?
Wow. You have to have hope. You have to have hope. You can't. Come on. This is somebody's mom. We're going to find her.
And guys, as for those reported ransom notes, the FBI says if they do turn out to be legitimate, those demands, and they are able to make that contact, that the FBI is prepared. They say they have crisis negotiators here in Tucson ready to assist the family. Meanwhile, the FBI is also ramping up their search efforts, and they are now offering a $50,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest, or more importantly, to Nancy. Craig.
Liz, Course Force there in Arizona again. Liz, thank you. NBC's Tom Winter covers crime and security force. Tom, good morning. So now we have two videos from the family, both addressing the abductors. Where do things stand now with regard to the investigation? Where do things go from here?
Sure. So, we all heard that press conference yesterday. There were some key pieces of evidence that they hoped that they would be able to have. It would give them some of the critical clues to try to figure out who's responsible for all this. And those things didn't pan out. So right now you do have these ransom notes. It's the best thing that's in front of the family, the best thing that's in front of law enforcement as far as a possible avenue. And look, even if these ransom notes turn out to be a hoax, you've still got Savannah Guthrie communicating directly to whoever did this, saying, hey, the door is wide open. Contact us. We're here. We're ready to listen. That's what she's been saying. You've got her brother coming out, having a statement last night. We haven't heard from you, but we're here. We're ready to go. So even if the person who is actually holding Nancy or was responsible for this crime is not connected to these letters, you're still giving that person a path to say, look, let's talk.
Well, if that ransom note is legitimate, I mean, everybody's buzzing about this. It revealed, let's see, it includes 2 deadlines, no way of communicating. And it also mentions that Apple Watch and that floodlight. What are we supposed to make of this?
What we're supposed to make of it, according to law enforcement, is, look, we're taking it seriously. That's what they're saying this morning. And they haven't been able to tie it definitively back. They don't have a kidnapper. They don't know for sure that these notes are there, but we did have a 5 p.m. deadline yesterday. And so the hope is, and perhaps that's already happened just here in the last couple of moments, the last couple of hours, is that whoever sent this reaches back out. If it's legitimate, they'll reach back out. The family has said, look, show us proof of life and we'll talk. We will have a serious discussion about this. And so you're hoping with these deadlines coming up that there is an additional attempt to follow up. The other piece of this is the Apple Watch and the floodlights. Of course, there's floodlights at Nancy Guthrie's home. There's an Apple Watch photo. We have it. There's a great photo of it here in a loving embrace between Savannah and her mom.
In the studio.
Right here, just 4 or 5 feet to my right.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, you say, okay, does this person have any additional information? In this follow-up, can they offer something that says definitively, oh, they really know something about Nancy that the public doesn't know?
Tom, one of the things that stood out to me yesterday most was this timeline, a more specific timeline. In fact, I want to put it up for folks at home, and let's drill down some of these times and what, if anything, we can glean from them. What stands out to you, and how could this inform the investigation moving forward?
A timeline, you talk to any investigator, you talk to anybody that's trying to solve a crime, is one of the most critical pieces that you have to establish. And there's some really interesting information on this. The first one being, when these security cameras, the first security camera is taken off the door there. That is a critical moment because that indicates that's when the crime starts.
At 1:47.
At 1:47. 1:47, the doorbell camera disconnects. That's a critical moment. 2:12, software detects a person on a camera. Now, you might be sitting there saying, well, wait a minute, you just told me that they took the doorbell camera off the door. According to the sheriff, there are multiple cameras that were at the home. They may not have been in a position to record, or they may not have been saving that moment, but at least there is a software that says that there's some motion out there. We all have these apps, or we've seen them, that tells us somebody's outside. So that's at 2:12. And then at 2:38, the pacemaker app disconnects from the phone. So for sure, Nancy Guthrie is separated from her phone at a moment before 2:38, because obviously it goes out of range. So it's still connected for a little bit. But we know that the phone, which was found in the house, according to the sheriff, that Nancy Guthrie is away from the home and away from that phone sometime before 2:38. And of course, you got this question, well, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
What's with that 20-minute time gap? The cameras gets ripped off the doorbell, but then there's motion seen on the camera outside, 20 minutes later. What's that about? Some people in law enforcement wonder if the person took the doorbell camera off and waited to see if police arrived. Would that alert anything? Would that do anything? And then perhaps thinking the coast was clear, goes back to the house. We don't know. We don't know the specifics of what camera detected the motion either.
Sure.
That's a bit of a challenge. So again, it speaks to the fact that we have some information. There are some clues for sure, but we don't have a lot of details. It's that critical moment, though. We know now, 2:28, that's when the person is out of there. That does give them an opportunity now for the team that's trying to hunt down these cell phones. That takes a lot of time. It's a little bit of art and science. Okay, somebody's on the move here. for the people we were talking about yesterday with the license plate readers, with the vehicles. Okay, what is the time period here when we can start to look at these cameras?
It's not over.
How many cars are on the road at,
True.
at 2:30 in the morning? And so maybe we can start to put that together. But I will tell you all and warn everybody on this, that type of work takes a long time. That is just a lot of manual labor. And the farther you go out from Nancy Guthrie's home from a cell phone standpoint, every half mile, you pretty much times 10 the amount of cell phones you got to look at.
Got it.
It's a challenge.
All right, Tom, thank you.
I don't know about that story. That is weird information we're getting. I don't know. Guess who?
These celebrities that go on stage and call for abolishing ICE. I was wondering what you thought about that.
Well, abolishing ICE is absurd. ICE provides a critical service to the nation to round up all of the criminals and deport them. But I also think we're in a place that we can agree that we need to make some appropriate changes there and refinements. For me, I'm always going to support ICE so long as they only focus on securing our border, round up all the criminals, deport them. Hey, I was the co-sponsor of Democrats for the Lakin Riley bill. That's what must be true at the same time. We make some changes after Minneapolis, and now we also can't forget that it is important so anyone that calls to abolish ICE, that's absurd, and I'll be a Democrat to just push back on the kind of extreme reactions.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that.
Hey, Fetterman on that subject.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has denied any role in
About 2
changing an
minutes.
after-action report on the deadly Palisades fire. Two sources tell the LA Times the mayor privately warned the report could expose the city to legal liability and push to soften or remove findings critical of the fire department. The Times reports those changes downplayed failures to pre-deploy crews ahead of extreme winds. Controversy has fueled accusations of a cover-up. Concerns of the altered report were addressed by Chief Jaime Moore last month during the LA Board of Fire Commission meeting.
Safety conducted a comprehensive review and committed to specific measurable improvements. As many of you are aware, it is now clear that multiple drafts were edited to soften language and reduce explicit criticism of department leadership in that final report. This editing occurred prior to my appointment as fire chief, and I can assure you that nothing of this sort will ever again happen while I am fire chief.
So Mayor Bass has rejected the claims. Part of a statement her office sent to Fox 11 says this, quote, Mayor Bass has been unequivocal for months. She reviewed an early draft of the report and only asked the LAFD to make sure it was accurate on issues like weather and budget. She and her staff made no changes to the drafts. There's absolutely no reason why she would request those details be altered or erased when she herself has been critical of the response to the fire, full stop.
Okay, ladies, I'm
Mayor Karen.
the mayor there. So I got a 10-minute one that's another interesting video. And then we got a 24-minute Pam Bondi, Cash, and Judge Jean from this morning's brief conference or press conference. I don't understand this one.
This is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Is that your bus?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is all about.
The immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone, though.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like,
hop it, just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner?
Wait.
We're looking for a place for them to stay. They just came across. They'll sleep on floors. I mean, they're not picky, you know.
We have like a 2-year-old, so
Hector's good with kids.
sorry, we just can't.
At a time.
Is this your Harris Walls sign out here? Excuse me, guys. Are you guys supporting Kamala in this up-and-coming election? You support?
Absolutely.
Are you a supporter?
Oh, sounds like a Trump supporter.
He's a Trump
Answer
supporter.
the question, with the dog.
Are you? Okay. Of course. We're giving back to the community.
We do have a surprise, if that's okay, just real fast.
You have a surprise? I don't discuss my vote with anyone.
We're with Harris Walls. We're just giving back. We're giving back to people supporting.
We don't need anything.
Oh, okay, awesome. First off, could we have consent to receive your pronouns?
I was born a woman and I'm still a woman and I'm a her.
We do have one quick surprise, one quick gift, so come on. Oh, they're coming. There we go.
These people?
They're fellow supporters. We got some guys that they don't have papers. You're in support of like the whole border situation. They don't have a place to stay. They just came across. They came over illegally. We need a home. Yeah. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
My name is Hector, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, they're kind of looking for a home. It'd be greatly appreciated. They'll sleep on floors. I mean, they're not picky, you know.
We have like a 2-year-old, so
Hector's good with kids.
sorry, we just can't.
Would you be willing to open your door?
Is this your truck right here? We could probably put a couple in the back and then maybe.
Let me let you meet them first. Excuse me. Come on, guys.
They're really nice people.
My teenagers live with me.
Oh, that's fine. Hector, he was dating a teenager like a little bit ago, so
Okay.
we need a home.
I don't know what.
You have one.
I live with a lot of people in my house.
Oh, that's fine. The more the merrier. Could you translate and tell them she said yes?
See. It would just be till the end of the election.
Yeah. Just to.
I guess that was a short one. Sorry about that one. We will get to what do we got? Say. I think we got the press conference coming up next here. We'll do this one real quick. I can't remember if we did this one, Carol. It's good to play it again.
Resign
for
or face impeachment.
Lights, camera, action.
I don't know.
I don't know. Because you set it up. You know what it was. It wasn't nothing.
I need a napkin to know nothing.
I need a napkin to know.
No, we will continue.
We will continue.
We will continue this.
You gonna continue. So you're not gonna run to the bathroom and wash it off. Somebody just sprayed something on you. A crazy person.
Yeah, I might have played it.
You with something
Let's get to play it again. It's funny.
And you just gonna continue to talk? You got to be crazy. Y'all, this is staged. It was set up. I'm sorry. If somebody, if you sprayed, I don't care if I know you. If you randomly spray me with something, I'm running to the bathroom. So I'm washing my eyes out. Okay? I am calling the poison control center. I'm not just gonna continue about my day like nothing happened after some random person sprayed me with something, some crazy person at that. Y'all, I might have been born, but I wasn't born yesterday. I wasn't born last night. I'm not boo-boo the foo-foo. Nobody, literally no one in this world would just allow some crazy person to spray something on to spray them with something, and then they don't wash their face, they don't wash off their skin, they just continue about their day like nothing happened. Seriously? A normal person would have ran to the bathroom. Why didn't they take her to the hospital? She is a congresswoman. Why wouldn't they take her to the hospital? It could have been poisonous. Why? You know why they didn't take her? Because they knew what it was. It wasn't up for some damn water, some faucet water. That's all it was. Okay? Because if it was anything else, if it was not set up or staged, they would have rushed her to the hospital. That is the right thing to do, especially if you are a sitting congresswoman and some random crazy person sprays you. You go to the hospital and get it checked out.
And
this was staged.
He's good. Everybody likes him. He's right. Yeah. If they don't take her to the hospital, it's staged. Yeah, we're going to fast forward it till they get out. About 20, 19 minutes.
Our nation. In fact, from day one, Cash and Dan would sit in meetings and say, we're going to get them. And they did. Today, I'm proud to announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakash landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Hillary Clinton famously once said about Benghazi, what difference at this point does it make? Well, it makes a difference to Donald Trump. It makes a difference to those families. And 14 years later, it makes a difference to law enforcement who made the difference in this case. Thank you, President Trump, for supporting all of our agencies around the country and around the world. Al-Bakash will now face American justice on American soil. We will prosecute this alleged terrorist to the fullest extent of the law. He'll face charges related to murder, terrorism, arson, among others. Let this case serve as a reminder. If you commit a crime against the American people anywhere in this world, President Trump's Justice Department will find you.
This was today.
It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide. We are immensely grateful to our partners, especially at the State Department and the CIA, who lost lives in the Benghazi attack. Director Patel and the FBI agents did tireless work to track and arrest this man. I want to thank everyone standing behind me, all the agents who work so great with our lawyers, with our national security lawyers, and around the world to bring this terrorist to justice. And I have a statement to read from Director Radcliffe. He wanted to be here. He couldn't be here. He's busy protecting our world. He's deeply grateful for the relentless efforts of the Department of Justice and the FBI to bring justice to the individual allegedly responsible for the death of Americans in the horrific 2012 Benghazi attack. CIA and the nation will never forget the extraordinary services and sacrifices of Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who gave their lives in defense of others and exemplified the very best of our agency. I'd now like to turn it over to Director Patel for remarks. And I again want to thank him for his relentless work in this case.
The worst fucking state to live in right now is Michigan, and nobody's talking about it.
General, thank you. And I want to steal one of your lines. Never forget. Pam never forgot. The president never forgot. This FBI never forgot. And certainly U.S. Attorney Pirro never forgot. When an act of terrorism of this magnitude strikes at the heart of our nation, we go to work. President Trump has given us the full resources at the FBI and across the interagency to make sure we deliver justice. And Pam, you're right. Dan and I did sit down early on about this to bring justice, but you led the effort. You brought together the interagency. You said we are going to get this done because no one agency alone can do it. So we are thankful to have an attorney general at the Department of Justice who works together with every single cabinet secretary and enforce the law. What you saw today, and I want to get, or what you're going to see today, I want to address in a minute, but I want to remind the folks out there the work of this Department of Justice. We were here just a few short months ago talking about how we were going to raise the RFJ for another violent offender on the run, Ryan Wedding. And what did we do under Attorney General's leadership? And what do we do when President Trump said, go get the worst of the worst? We captured him. We captured together under President Trump's leadership 6 of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in 1 calendar year. To put that in perspective, that is 2 more than the entirety of the prior administration. And you cannot do that alone at the FBI. You have to have an attorney general and a Department of Justice willing to prosecute, willing to go to the 4 corners of the earth and make sure we deliver justice. And that's what we're doing here today. I was at the airfield with U.S. Attorney Pirro earlier this morning when we did the formal foreign transfer of custody of Bakush into U.S. custody to face prosecution under her auspices and her office. And the Department of Justice are going to execute justice for the fallen. As a young prosecutor at CTS in the National Security Division, I worked on the Benghazi case. This was very near and dear and personal to me. We lost 4 brave Americans in Chris, Sean, Kyle, and Steve. And we can never, ever, ever forget them. Ever. And we will not. In order to put something like this together, it doesn't happen overnight. The FBI's hostage rescue team, the FBI's critical incident response group, our special flight operations unit, and countless others, along with the agents in the New York field office who never forgot Benghazi and never let the world forget it, endured over a decade to bring yet another terrorist who killed 4 Americans to justice. That is a relentless pursuit of mission that can only happen when you have an interagency who's willing to get after it. I'm extremely thankful to the CIA and Director Ratcliffe and our other law enforcement partners for making sure that the world knows that if you kill an American citizen in an act of terrorism, we will hunt you down. We will bring you to justice, and you will face justice here in America, not in another court and not in any other proceeding around the world, but here. You killed our own, so we are going to take it to the streets to make sure you are held accountable. Once again, I'd really like to thank the entirety of the FBI, headquarters divisions. There are so many moving pieces to actually execute a foreign transfer of custody. And now we're talking about the 7th, the 3rd in just a couple of weeks. And I don't know if that has ever happened before in U.S. history. It's happening because President Trump backs the blue. President Trump has given law enforcement the resources we need to take the fight across the world. And the Attorney General has been relentless in her mission to make sure that these victims are remembered and that we bring them some semblance of peace by bringing those who killed their loved ones to justice. It's a little full circle for me. Yes, then Director Deputy Bongino and I did sit down and said, how are we going to get this guy? How are we going to find the individual responsible for the Benghazi attacks? And we sat down with Janine Pirro, and we sat down with the AG and her team and the Deputy Attorney General. And every single day, every single week, we talked about how we would do it. And we're here today because we have an interagency that is led by superior individuals who have one shared goal: protecting America and our lives and our future. And to any others out there who wish to do harm, especially commit acts of terrorism here and around the world, this is the feat you will meet. You will not be forgotten by us.
Happy Friday.
We will chase you down. And it is a privilege and an honor to be the director of the FBI and come full circle for me, especially on this Benghazi case, especially with the families I know so well. And for me to you, the families, I just want to personally say, continue to pray for you. I hope that we can give you a little bit of peace in the utmost difficult of times when you've lost loved ones. And I just want to thank President Trump for delivering that peace and that modicum of justice. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. And it's now my honor to introduce the woman who will be prosecuting this alleged terrorist, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Thank you, Attorney General. 14 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a scene unfolded in a foreign land in one of the most dangerous places in the world for Americans, Benghazi, Libya. An American ambassador, elite military personnel, and a State Department employee were all violently murdered. For 13 hours, the American cavalry never came.
Now's your chance to bet with me or against me on the big game, only on Fanatics Sportsbook.
The government is banning these $29 adaptive glasses next month, and this is your last shot to get the original military-grade version.
For 13 hours, they waited for help that never came. Today, President Trump is making sure that American justice is coming for those individuals responsible for the deaths of those 4 Americans. Bakush is now on U.S. soil because of the President, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel. The FBI, the Department of Justice, never forgot. There are prosecutors in this room right now who have been in the office for 13 years and have consistently handled this matter in this case. This department will never forget the seemingly forgotten in that outpost in Benghazi. Bakush was first charged by complaint in 2015, which was sealed for 11 years. An 8-count indictment, has been unsealed, and it charges Bakush with the murder of Ambassador Chris Stevens, the murder of State Department employee Sean Smith, the attempted murder of State Department Special Agent Scott Wickland, and conspiracy to provide materials for terrorists and support that resulted in the death of 4 Americans, as well as arson at the special mission. I don't have to go through all of the facts, but every one of us remembers this case. I reported on it when I worked at Fox. I had relationships, as Kash Patel just said, with the families. And last night, as soon as they were in custody, because of Pam and because of Kash, we had a limited unsealing order from Judge Cooper that allowed me to speak to the family members to let them know that justice was coming for Bakush. I spoke with Sean Smith's mother, who I've known for years and have communicated with for years. I spoke with Tyrone Woods' widow, Dr. Dorothy Woods. I spoke with Ambassador Chris Stevens' family, as well as Glenn Doherty's brother, Greg, as well as his widow. These were people who never expected that justice would be coming. They never knew about the determination in this room and behind me and the incredible work of the FBI along this case for years and years, because this was something that mattered. The Benghazi saga was a painful one for Americans. It has stayed with all of us. And let me be very clear, there are more of them out there. Time will not stop us from going after these predators, no matter how long it takes, in order to fulfill our obligation to those families who suffered horrific pain at the hands of these violent terrorists. And now, I again want to tell everyone that American justice is here, that President Trump will make sure that the cavalry comes for Americans, no matter where they are in this world. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions.
David,
I have a on topic and an off topic. Sure. Tell us a little bit about how he was captured, where he was captured. Was he in jail for a while before? Was he at home? What can you tell us about how this all went down?
We're not going to give out a lot of the details, but I'm going to let Cash take what we can say.
The general's right. We have to protect the integrity of the investigation and the ongoing prosecution. That's of the utmost importance. It always is, to make sure even this individual receives the constitutional protections only afforded in the United States of America. But an FTOC, a foreign transfer of custody, is executed by the FBI each and every time with special tactical assets, FBI agents, and of course, medical personnel. And that was done in this instance. And the individual was apprehended and transferred over the night and into custody early this morning at an airfield. And so that's about all we can say on that matter. But in order to maintain the chain of custody, this is what the FBI does, routine, every time. It's what we did for the 6 top 10 we already captured. It's what we did for the relentless others that we continue to capture.
Was he picked up in Libya?
He was picked up overseas.
And then if I could just ask you two quick off topics. Obviously, this terrible tragedy we're watching in Arizona with Nancy Guthrie.
Oh, no.
I understand you know Savannah Guthrie. What is the federal government doing right now? Is the FBI now leading the investigation, taking it over from the locals?
We're doing everything to assist the locals. We're working with the locals. Breaks my heart for Savannah and for her family. I know she's asked for all of our prayers. So please pray for her beautiful mom, pray for her family that she's returned home. That's all we can say about that at this time. But yeah, I've known Savannah for over 30 years and it's breaking my heart.
Adobe Acrobat Studio is all new. What do PDF spaces with AI do? Do a sales invoice good enough to eat? Adobe Express brings the heat. Now we're talking, it's time to share. Every page, every doc, everything's right there. Now you can do that with the all new Acrobat.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their teeth in the day process.
If I may, there seems to be a little confusion with DNI Gabbard was down in Atlanta last week for the Fulton County search. Originally, this office said that she was not part of the investigation. She put in a letter to Congress that President Trump directed her to do so. And then now President Trump yesterday said that it was at your insistence that she went down there. So what is the case here?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. It's that's interesting because DNI Gabbard and I are inseparable. We are constantly together, as are the people behind us. We constantly talk. We collaborate as a cabinet. We're all extremely close, know what we're doing at all times, pretty much, to keep not only our country safe, but our world safe. And she was down there with Deputy Director Andrew Bailey of the FBI. And I'm not going to talk about any other details of that matter right now because Georgia's a very important issue to us. She was there. We're inseparable. That's all I'll say.
Mike, let me see.
Can you say, was there foreign involvement in the capture of this suspect? What kind of assistance did you get from other countries?
I'm going to let Director Patel take that. I think we're not going to be able to say a lot on that matter as well. But and to you personally, I'm so sorry you and your NBC family are going through this right now.
We appreciate it.
As the general said, in order to execute an apprehension, a capture, and a foreign transfer of custody, no one agency alone can do it. We did it throughout the interagency here. And of course, we're working with partners overseas. And we're not going to get into the details of those conversations and those ongoing matters because as the U.S. Attorney indicated to you, we're not done. And so what we want to do is maintain not just the integrity of this investigation, but the possibility and the promise of bringing more individuals to justice for this heinous act of terror.
Thanks. We have time for a couple more. We have something else going on at 10 o'clock down there.
Yeah, so on Benghazi, what did the communication look like between the Trump administration, the victims' families throughout this process, if any? I know someone as far as Sue Clinton during, in the early days of this, but what's the communication look like with them?
I think what I can say now is that do you want to take that, Director? We've had to keep everything very quiet for obvious reasons up until this point. And then U.S. Attorney Pirro, as she said, contacted all the families, and I think they were absolutely thrilled. I think they had probably lost faith that something would happen. But again, we never forget. Donald Trump never forgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a 10 o'clock in our office. That's a very positive if anyone would like to join us on that.
Okay, that's just about over there. I'm going to do some short videos for a bit, and then do the X2 report from yesterday. Okay, what do we got here? I'm going to show a photo shot of Savannah's mom. Does anybody know what she's wearing there? That's got to be a comm. See there?
Savannah Guthrie's mom's missing case and bring a slightly different perspective, just some additional points I've noticed that caught my eye. I spent my career at the CIA and NSA and advised other intelligence agencies. I now have my own corporate intelligence firm. All these opinions are my own for entertainment purposes only. All right. I'll put the timeline here so you all can read it, but some interesting things about the timeline. The garage door was open and didn't close for a few minutes later. She could have been saying bye. There are multiple reasons for that, but it's a potential that the people got in the garage at that point if there was no forced entry. And I think that there was more than one person because she wasn't just a tiny thing and she had a hard time getting around. So that makes me think there was more than one. The cameras were disabled and they said that they detected a person, which is interesting because if it was disabled, I don't understand how that could happen. If they can't get the software off of it, but they detected a person, I don't know. That does make sense to me, but it also means that that person knew that she had cameras where they were because they didn't get caught in the camera. So they were casing the house. Another interesting thing is that she had a pacemaker. She was older, had a hard time moving. She was 84. And you're telling me that nobody in her family got alerts when her alarms went off or her pacemaker was disconnected? That's weird to me. Just a thought. I always go to Google Trends and I just want to bring a different perspective because why? Nobody in the US searched for Nancy Guthrie all year, okay? But 2 countries did. We have our favorite country 11 times on January 31st. I did a search a few days ago and it showed that they also had some inquiries the week of April 25th, but it's not there anymore. So obviously Google Trends is a little off, but I found this to be interesting. So we've got Mexico. And the interesting one about Mexico is that April 12th through the 19th, they had 11 inquiries on Nancy Guthrie. I specifically put in Nancy Guthrie. You can see at the top. Then January 26th, so just a week before, 1 Google search on her. Something about this with the ransom note doesn't smell right to me. Another reason why I think it could be somebody who wasn't from around there is because they sent in the ransom note to media outlets, not the police, they sent it to TMZ.
Thanks for sharing
and
that
other
article,
news story. Other
yeah.
news. They're taking this one. I know they've arrested someone for a fake one. They're taking this one seriously, but to give a ransom note and then not give a way to contact you, just say, here's the Bitcoin address, which also you can trace crypto. You can trace Bitcoin wallets. Like I trace them all the time for clients, but nothing was taken in the home. her wallet was still there. So that's why I'm ruling out people that worked for her. And I'm looking at family or somebody that wanted her gone for another reason. And I've already said I find it very strange that this happened the day after the Epstein files came out, when Savannah Guthrie was the one who interviewed all of the witnesses. Again, it's just a different way that I'm looking at it. I'm truly praying for this family. I cannot imagine their pain right now. So
she's right about that. I still don't understand that what that symbol was that her mom was wearing around her neck there. Hey, Tim. Okay, see what one I got next here. Oh, 4-minute one here. We play this one.
Prosecute anybody. So the question needs to be asked, if the evidence found in the Epstein files is not enough to prosecute anybody, then why are these two being subpoenaed to court to testify about the Epstein documents? Make some sense. And listen to this.
Highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law.
And anyone can go look that law up. Not only are they ignoring the law and not prosecuting these people, they also release thousands of documents with victims' faces in them. Children's faces. Not only that, but someone's license, their telephone numbers.
Not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were...
So they broke the law when it comes to privacy of these victims. So you mean to tell me they had no problem showing the faces of all these victims, which they weren't supposed to do, but did a very good job of redacting all the people that abused these girls? They did a better job redacting their names than the victims' names. That should somehow wake some of y'all up. Not only that, but he says that they cannot prosecute anybody that was in the files, which makes no sense when they're literally doing that with these two. It amazes me how ignorant these people think we are. Not only that, but we had Kash Patel telling everyone under oath that Jeffrey Epstein's files were nothing. And we know that is a lie. So he lied under oath, but the man is still in his position? Is everyone really just this complacent? To me, it just shows they're doing this on purpose. They want to cause as much confusion as they can. They want to bring as much division as they can. And they want us to not trust the government. Everything they do is for a reason. Because think about it, if our whole government is in these files, that makes us not want to trust any of our government. But then here comes AI, the image of the beast, that cannot do the things that they did in these files. The thing is, Satan doesn't like when people have hope. And a lot of people are waking up to the false hope they thought they had, who turned out to be in the files thousands of times, called it a hoax when it wasn't. And if you're one of those people who had their hearts set on this man saving everyone, I believe the Lord is working through this too. Stop trusting in a man to give you hope and lean on Jesus Christ. He is literally the only hope you need.
Okay, another good one for her. I'll be getting ready to do the next report soon here. I got two short ones. You guys remember this one?
Address where Ilhan Omar's winery is. You can see that a different winery is here, Punch Down Cellars.
What does this note say?
E Street Crew does not make wine here. They were a client many years ago
Okay,
and have
thanks for
ceased
sharing that.
operation. Their operating address is linked to
I've
this
never heard
address
of
like all other client wineries because of state and federal filings. So I wonder what else they have to show for it. What do you think about that?
I think they're just trying to keep as much distance between their business and
Yeah.
You guys just do a little more research before.
Well, yeah, that's what we're kind of doing right now.
Would you be so
But
kind
this
to
is,
tell
do
us?
you know what this place is?
No, that's why we do
It's
that.
a custom crush place. Every bunch of people use it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like renting instead of owning.
Yeah.
So there's like about 40 of us in here. Making one.
Yeah. We're just trying to like just figure out what is really going on. We see that.
Next time, just call because there's nothing going on.
The pastor told us that Punch Down Cellars makes wine for 14 different.
They don't make wine.
Or crushes.
Crush it. You hold it.
We winemakers make wine in the same facility.
Oh, cool. Which because my family, we've been part of like members of certain wineries and stuff. So is there like a high-end brand that you guys like hold for or anything like that?
No, I don't own the place.
Okay.
I'm just one of the winemakers
Okay,
here. And there's a bunch of us under one roof.
Awesome.
That's all.
What's your winery's name?
Well, I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
But it's not that much.
Well, yeah, obviously.
He didn't really seem very happy.
No.
Do they have people coming to check this place out or something that they needed to put a sign on it? I mean,
Probably.
I haven't noticed anybody
I would
else
imagine
online.
so because I mean that company's being sued.
So let's see.
Okay, I don't know about that one, you guys. One more short one, and next two report. I didn't really clear understand this.
Showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36th and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their tail light. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Preddy was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations,
Oh,
which
sorry,
concluded
Lori.
that Preddy was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street. Shortly after the altercation we filmed here on January 13th, federal agents drove away. Soon after that, we left the scene. This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis,
Yeah, I gotta find
showing a man.
XT report video. Hold on. And I gotta go back to News Force. Hang on, almost there. Where is it? All right, I found it. Okay, XT report time, the 20-minute version. $22.
Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave. This episode 3834 AM. Today's date is February 5th, 2026. And the title of the episode is Percent Destroys the Central Bank Independence Narrative. President can interfere with the Fed. Problem, you never know the full story until after it's too late. And here's the brutal truth: you can't protect yourself after. You have to be ready now. All this uncertainty, the chaos, the warning signs, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just noise. Maybe it's just the beginning of something bigger. Nobody knows for sure, but waiting to find out, that's how people get hurt. Physical gold and silver aren't just investments, they're preparation. They're the foundation of real protection. My friends at Noble Gold Investments have been helping Americans protect themselves for nearly a decade. No pressure, no games, just proven insight when it matters most. Look, you're either prepared or you're not. Which one will you be when everything changes overnight? Visit x22gold.com to receive your free wealth protection kit. That is x22gold.com. And remember, the prepared don't panic, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investments. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You can see Trump and the Patriots right now. They're preparing the narrative for what is to come. And we had Bissent out there, who was testifying in front of Congress, letting everyone know that, yes, Trump has the ability to interfere with the Fed. Now, it might not be the way everyone thinks it is, but you have to remember the deep state, the central bankers, for a very long time, they made the case where the president really can't say anything about the Fed or dictate to the Fed on what to do. Remember, if you go back in time, nobody really even heard of the Fed, and you never really heard anything about the Fed until we started to get into like 2008, 2009, when we went through the financial crisis and they went all out in stimulating the economy, printing a lot of money, and putting us into a lot more debt because their system was failing. And now Bissent is out there letting everyone know that, no, the president does have the right to do this. He can question the Fed. He can tell the Fed what to do. He can make suggestions. And once again, he's destroying the independence of the Federal Reserve because he's been doing it now since he came back into office. He did it when he was in office before. He told the Fed, listen, I don't think you're doing the right thing. I don't think you should be raising the rates. I think you should be lowering the rates. He did that back when he was in his first term. Now he's in his third term and he's saying the same exact thing. So they're basically destroying the idea that the Fed is completely independent. Why are they doing this? Because as we move into the future, Trump is going to be dictating to those individuals that are going to take over the Federal Reserve. And the president is going to direct them in which direction we're going to go. And you could see how this is all starting to play out right now. And you have to remember something very, very important. Trump right now is reversing everything Biden/Obama did in his 4 years. And you have to remember they lied about the job numbers. They lied about the economy. And when you look at it, what did they do to the economy? They really destroyed it. Actually, we were in a recession. I do believe we're going to go back in time and people are going to find out, yeah, the recession started during Biden's term. And when you look at the entire economy back then, inflation was running rampant. Fuel prices were skyrocketing. All the job numbers, that was one gigantic lie. So once again, look what Biden and Obama did. Look what Trump had to do to bring us back to this point. And now he can move forward and actually make the economy better and better and better. He already set the foundation. He already prepared the economy. And now we're moving forward. And yes, the fake news, the D's, they like to say, oh, yeah, you think this was all Biden's fault? Yeah, if you look at the graphs, yes, it's always his fault. Because when you look at it, let's see, inflation started when? Oh, that's right, during Biden. Fuel prices went up. Oh, that's right, during Biden. Egg prices went up. Oh, that's right, during Biden. Fake numbers for jobs. Oh, that's right, that was Biden. So when you hear, oh, the labor market is deteriorating, this is left over from the Biden administration. Trump now is reversing everything. I mean, we should be so happy that he started a tariff system because this is enabling him in a very, very fast way to reverse everything that he has done, plus setting the stage to bring us into a new system that doesn't rely on the central bank system. So when you look at the labor market right now, the number of Americans working multiple jobs has hit a record 9.3 million, surpassing peaks seen during the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 crisis. At the same time, average weekly hours worked have fallen to 34.5 hours, near the lowest since the financial crisis. The gap suggests workers are taking second and third jobs, not by choice, but out of necessity, as hours are cut and primary employment fails to provide sufficient income. The job market is weak. Now, think about this. Why would this be the case? Why would people have to take extra jobs? Well, think about what they did to the economy. Think about all the illegals they brought into this country that took the jobs from the American people. Think about how they lied about the jobs where they said everyone has a job. He's creating incredible number of jobs, millions of them. It's all a lie. So when you start to look at the graph and you look at the jobs, it all started as soon as he came into office, and it accelerated, and then Trump came into the office. And now he's setting everything up and reversing everything. Remember, they made it so bad that you just can't turn the whole thing around. He just can't say, hey, snap my fingers, here's some jobs. First, we have to set everything up, set the stage. And of course, along the way, what did the judiciary do? Oh, they try to stop him every single step of the way. And when you look at real estate, it's pretty much the same thing. As of right now, there are more sellers than there are buyers. Now, think about this for a second. Home sellers right now outnumber buyers by 530,000, the largest gap ever recorded. So think about that. Why is that? Well, let's see. Interest rates went way, way up. People really didn't have jobs. Wages went down. So what do you think is going to happen? You think the real estate market's going to stay strong? Absolutely not. And think about why Trump wanted the rates to come down. Oh, would that help the real estate market? Absolutely. Why do you think Trump wants to have a 50-year mortgage? Would that help the real estate market? Absolutely. Would it help people get into a new or existing home? Absolutely. You know, a lot of people are going to say, well, 50-year mortgage, this is going to be crazy. You're going to have to pay so much in interest. Well, think about what's going to happen. This is all being set up not to stay in the system that we're in today. The whole thing's being set up to bring us into the new parallel economic system, a system without the central bank, which means we will not be borrowing from the central bank, which means Trump is going to be removing all the inflation that we have seen since 1971, which means we get our buying power back, which means that 50-year mortgage is going to feel like absolutely nothing in the end. Actually, if you go back and you speak to maybe your parents or your grandparents during 1970, when they purchased a house in the 60s, and then all of a sudden we came off the gold standard in the 70s, what happened? All wages had to be adjusted. Why? Because the value of the currency declined. Did the mortgages change? No, they stayed the same. So
this is the reason why I canceled my internet provider subscription. If you're still paying for internet in 2026, stop right now. This pocket-sized device gives you instant.
All of a sudden, people were making a lot more, twice, 3 times as they were before. Was it a lot easier for them to pay that static mortgage? Absolutely. Fast forward to now. We have a currency that has lost a tremendous amount of value, 3,000%. The problem, you never know the full story until after it's too late. And here's the brutal truth. You can't protect yourself after. You have to be ready now. All this uncertainty, the chaos, the warning signs, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just noise. Maybe it's just the beginning of something bigger. Nobody knows for sure, but waiting to find out, that's how people get hurt. Physical gold and silver aren't just investments. They're preparation. They're the foundation of real protection. My friends at Noble Gold Investments have been helping Americans protect themselves for nearly a decade. No pressure, no games, just proven insight when it matters most. Look, you're either prepared or you're not. Which one will you be when everything changes overnight? Visit x22gold.com to receive your free wealth protection kit. That is x22gold.com. And remember, the prepared don't panic, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. When that buying power comes back, do you think it's going to be very, very easy to pay for that static mortgage? Even if you took it out for 50 years, it's going to feel like nothing. Just talk to your parents or your grandparents. How did it feel when you were making 2 or 3 times the amount because they increased the wages? Now, people are going to say, wow, my buying power, it all came back. That 100,000 or the 70,000 I was making, it's triple what I was actually making. That's what it feels like, which means I have a lot. I don't need as many pieces of paper to pay for that mortgage because it holds a lot more weight. So I think everything is going to change. And as of right now, when you hear all these stories, it all reflects on the Biden/Obama administration. Now, the other thing that people are worrying about is, oh, look, gold is going down, silver's going down, Bitcoin's going down. We better jump ship. We better sell everything. Now, during this period of time, the masses always tend to panic. I remember going back to 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, when gold at one point hit almost $1,900, around that area, and then it dropped to $1,100. People panicked. People said, oh, I'm getting out. You see, gold, it's not worth it. I'm doing something else. And people decided, you know what, I'm going to invest in something else. Others said, whoa, gold dropped back down to $1,100, $1,050. Ooh, it's on sale. I remember during a period of time when Bitcoin hit 19,000 and it dropped all the way to 9,000. Everyone said Bitcoin is done. You know what the smart people did? They purchased a lot more Bitcoin because it's on sale. It's funny how people will do that with TVs, cars, and everything else. Oh, wait, you dropped the price? Oh, now I can go buy it. When that asset, which is not really an asset, continually loses value every single year. When you look at the trajectory of Bitcoin, when you look at the trajectory of silver and gold, it's always been up. Yes, the central bankers, they will try to push it down. But I do believe this is temporary. And I do believe what we're going to see as we move forward, things are going to start to really move. Jordan Sather put this out and said, Bitcoin typically corrects 70 to 80% during bear markets. 50% correction during bull markets are not unusual. It tanked 50% during the summer of 2021, only to go to hit all-time highs 4 months later. Bitcoin is only down 45% from its 124,000 all-time high last October. People freaking out about this crash don't understand the volatility and behaviors of the crypto market. This is normal. I hope it goes down to 58,000. A good time to buy more. Absolutely. This is a time, I mean, smart people, what they normally do, they go and say, whoa, this is the perfect time to get in. I mean, I couldn't get in at 124,000, but at 70,000, at 60,000, this is a little bit better. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy a whole Bitcoin. Maybe I'll buy a half a Bitcoin. Maybe I'll buy a tenth of a Bitcoin. But this gives me the opportunity to get in. Same thing with silver and gold. You saw silver moving up. You saw gold moving up. Is this the right time to buy, or is it time to buy when it's high? Think about that for a second. Because think about where we're headed. Think about Trump's agenda. We're headed to a sound money system. We're headed to a place where he's going to make the country absolutely incredible. That's why he calls it the golden age. The golden age is when we remove ourselves from the central bank system. The golden age is when we go back to sound money. The golden age is when we go back to the Constitution. So if you keep that in mind, you could see that's where all of this is headed. This is not business as usual. It's not economics as usual. Actually, if you look at this, all the financial pundits, the economists, the D's, the fake news, everything that Trump was doing with tariffs, they were completely and utterly wrong. When Biden said, oh, don't worry, inflation is temporary. You know who said inflation was temporary? The Fed, the fake news, the Treasury at the time, which was Janet Yellen, who was head of the Fed. They all said inflation was temporary. Don't worry, it's all going to go away. And it got worse. They told us he was creating an incredible amount of jobs. Oh, wait, they were wrong. They lied about the millions of jobs. So once again, you can see where all this is headed. And if you keep that in mind of the entire plan, you could see where this is going to go. Yes, you're going to see bumps in the road. It's not going to be perfect. If everyone is expecting everything just to move up perfectly and everything incredibly fine, that doesn't happen. Because you have to remember, there are still forces trying to stop what Trump is trying to do. You've seen it with the tariffs. You've seen it with the judiciary. Right now, the Supreme Court is hearing a case because there are people trying to stop Trump every step of the way. Do I think Trump is going to win in the end? Absolutely. Put it this way. If he doesn't win, if we don't get rid of the central bank, doesn't matter what you do. What do you think is going to happen? All you got to do is look at Europe. All you got to do is look at Australia. Things are not going to work out for anyone if that should happen. So keep that in mind. But Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following, and he's pointing to Eric Doherty, and it says, Secretary Scott Bessent just stunned the experts by confirming 4.1% U.S. economic growth, while Europe recorded only 0.3%, and it's only going to accelerate from here. Bessent and Trump were right. The U.S. will have reportedly likely, despite the longest government shutdown in history, 4.1% growth for the past 3 quarters. And so we have been successful at that. Europe last week celebrated 0.3% growth. So it's no comparison. And I think we're beginning to accelerate. Importantly, everything we are doing is to fix the terrible Biden inflation from the past 4 years, 21.5%, much more for working families. And we are bringing that down. We're also moving everything into a sound constitutional system like our founding fathers wanted. And this is why Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that the president can interfere with the Fed. Because once again, he's setting up the narrative, letting everyone know that, yes, he can tell the Fed, this is what I would like to see. Now, it doesn't mean the Fed's going to go along with it, but if he has his people in place, yes, they will. So if he has his people in place and Trump is going to dictate what the Fed can and cannot do, he's going to make suggestions, let's put it that way. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Fed is going to fight him then? Or do you think the Fed is going to go along with him? And this is why Bessent is telling Congress, yes, he has the ability to do this. Because in the end, Trump needs control of the central bank system. He needs to bring the central bank system into alignment. Because when he starts to transition us from the central bank system into the sound money parallel economic system, you need to have control of both sides. You can't have control of one side. Because you have to remember, the central bank and the deep state players, they have infiltrated pretty much everything, not just in this country, but around the world. And that includes the economy and the central bank systems around the world, because every single country has a central bank system. And basically, the central bank has its tentacles everywhere. So yes, do you need control to make a smooth transition? Absolutely. And I do believe as time goes on and people start to see this and people start to see that Trump has command of the situation, what we're going to see is we're going to start to see, oh, look, gold is making moves again. Oh, look.
Watch what happens when a 50-year-old man blocks DHT naturally for just 90 days. Day one.
Silver's making moves again.
About 4 minutes.
Oh, look, Bitcoin is making moves again. Now, of course, people
We'll
are
do,
going to say, oh, damn, I should have
short
got in
video
back then. I was
till
afraid,
12:30.
but I should have done it.
12:30.
Now,
will be
I
about
do
2
believe, yes,
hours.
maybe gold and silver, maybe they'll drop a little bit more. Maybe Bitcoin will even drop more. Actually, that's a good thing. I'm hoping they do, because I would like to purchase some more of this as this occurs, because who wants to purchase at high? Actually, I don't even call it purchasing. I would like to transition my fiat currency into actual sound money. So I think a lot of people are thinking this, and this is my opinion, of course. This is what I would like to do. And I always, every time something goes down, every time something like this happens, this is something that a lot of people do. Now, a lot of people also get scared and they start to sell off. This is what the deep state, the central bankers want. They want you to sell off. They want everyone to be afraid. Just like if they want to crash the market, what do? Well, we saw this back in 2020. George Soros said the market is overheating and it's the perfect time for it to come down. And the big players started to sell off the market. And then all of a sudden the market started to drop in 2020 and people were scratching their heads going, saying, I don't understand this. Why would this be happening right now? And those people that were afraid, they started to sell off too, because they were very nervous and afraid about what is happening. And they were hoping that a lot more people would have joined in to crash what? The market. This is what the central bankers, the deep state players always do. And once again, those people that understood what was going on, they didn't sell off. They bought a lot more and they kept purchasing. And then all of a sudden the market started to come up once again. Basically, the market never crashed. Actually, now look, the market's at 49,000. Think about that for a second. So you could see that once again, we're heading into an area that it's going to get bumpy. People are going to be afraid. But in the end, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have complete and utter control. They already built the foundation for the new system. And basically, in the next year or so, probably 2 years, the transition is going to begin. And I do believe he's going to be getting control of the Federal Reserve this year as we approach May, of course. And I do believe he'll have a lot more ammunition once we have the House and Senate, because then we have the ability to actually remove the central bank. So as of right now, going up to the midterms, Trump is going to take control of the Federal Reserve. He's going to make suggestions to the Federal Reserve. They're going to lower interest rates by quite a bit. And we're going to start to reposition ourselves, because we're going to start to see housing pick up. We're going to start to see fuel prices start to really drop. People are going to get their tax refunds. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And once we get the House and Senate, what is that going to do? Well, at that point in time, I do believe the House and Senate is going to be on Trump's side, and they're going to start to allow him to use the money that's being brought in via the tariffs. Now, of course, the Supreme Court's listening to the tariff case, and I do believe they're going to rule in favor of Trump, which is going to actually give him extra power as we go past the midterms and we win the midterms. And once that occurs and Congress votes that you can use the tariffs, and he makes a suggestion of what we should use it for, well, this is going to go up against the central bank system. And I do believe also what the Congress is going to do, they'll probably give the presidency back the power of impoundment. So I think everything is about to change right now, and Trump is preparing for all of this. And once again, you could see that everything is being set up to take down the central bank system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.
Okay, yesterday's report, I'm not sure if I played that yesterday. Some people might have missed it. So, yeah, we'll do the short clips for about 35 minutes. Now begin back at 6. This is a new video. I never.
Rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
She didn't yell. She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She walked out of that courtroom not with a smirk, not with vengeance, but with history made. Caroline Leavitt just did what millions thought was impossible. She took on a media Goliath, and she won. And not just a symbolic win, an $800 million courtroom triumph that left Whoopi Goldberg stunned, silenced, and staring at a reality daytime TV never prepared her for. This wasn't just a lawsuit. This was a reckoning. And today, Caroline Leavitt finally reacts. Calm, calculated, and chillingly composed. But before we break this down, you know the drill. Smash that like button if you believe in truth over theatrics. Subscribe if you think media should be held to the same standard as the rest of us. Because what just happened isn't a footnote in entertainment gossip. It's a turning point in how power, platforms, and personal responsibility collide. Did you just subscribe? Awesome. Let's rewind to how we got here. Because once you see the receipts, you'll never look at daytime TV the same way again.
You don't have anything to say. You blab. You just go on and 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 on.
It started like any other fiery segment on The View. At least, that's what the cameras made it look like. The stage was polished to perfection. Bright studio lights bounced off glossy coffee mugs emblazoned with the show's logo. The hosts were mic'd up and draped in bold colors, sipping from cups like queens holding court. The applause signs blinked obediently as the audience clapped on cue. It was daytime television's version of a battlefield, dressed in smiles and studio lighting. But beneath the glossy surface, something far more calculated was brewing. Caroline Leavitt, former White House press secretary, young political firebrand, and a rising name in conservative media, was the guest. But she wasn't there to discuss. She wasn't invited for dialogue. No, she had been summoned. This was no warm welcome. It was a setup, a carefully designed ambush disguised as an interview. A pressure cooker built for live television and clipped for viral outrage. From the moment she stepped onto the stage, the air changed.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the
expectation
panel.
for-
Caroline,
the
thank you very much for your time.
These women
The audience's polite applause carried an undertone, anticipation, maybe even bloodlust. They didn't come to hear Caroline speak. They came to see her squirm. And the panel? Like sharks circling in designer blazers. Joy Behar struck first. Her signature smirk twisted into something more pointed as she fired the opening shot. I mean, how old are you again? Do they let kids into Congress now? Laughter, not just from the audience, but from the other hosts. Those orchestrated grins and
think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies.
So Whoopi and Caroline going at it. I guess you won some money there. Second short one here. First time I've seen Trish on Laura Trump.
On Sunday, descend upon people trying to worship at a St. Paul church, shut down their Sunday service, Trish. And, you know, it's one thing to utilize your freedom of speech. It's our First Amendment right, but so is freedom of religion. And it turns out you can't just go in and terrorize people in a church. My God, after all we've seen happen at places of worship, at churches, at synagogues over the past several years, where horrific things have happened, where people have been killed, they storm into a church, they cause chaos. There's the photo of the kid with his parents who looks terrified of what's happening. And this somehow is supposed to encourage Americans to want to say, like, yeah, let's not do the right thing and follow the law in the United States. I'm not sure that they really thought this one out. You had Don Lemon in tow. You know, obviously the DOJ has taken it seriously. They have put forward, I guess, an investigation into the FACE Act, because you can't do that. You can't just go in and disrupt people worshiping, Trish. And I don't know that it achieved anything that these people wanted.
No,
This is a really interesting case. It's private property for starters. You can't just bust into somebody's private property, into somebody's house and start protesting. You certainly can't do it given the FACE Act as well. So there's actual legal ground for them to fight this on. As for Don Lemon, this is interesting to me because I've certainly covered protests before. They've all been legal protests. And you follow the protesters, they do this, that, and the other. You get on camera and you do your little report. In this case, it seems as though he knew about it ahead of time because we saw him interviewing the woman who was leading this protest. So he had knowledge of this ahead of time, and then he followed them inside the church. Now, if you were working for a network, my guess is your lawyers at the network would have said, hey, don't go inside the church, because at that point, you are in violation, right, of the law. It's crossing a line. You are now trespassing yourself. So if, he had actually been working in more of an establishment where there were some lawyers around him, they probably would have discouraged that. As Harmeet Dillon said, it doesn't absolve you. I think her quote was something about, if you're witness to a bank robbery and the bank robbery is going to happen and you're crossing state lines with the bank robbers because you decide to embed yourself with them, it doesn't absolve you just because you have the First Amendment. And so I think that's what's really going to be at issue here. How much did he know about this in advance of things? And then how willing was he to go along and sort of effectively break the law, trespassing into this church? But it's pretty gross that people think that that's A-okay. That's how they're going to get attention. That's how they're going to create, sympathy for their cause. I don't think that's going to win a lot of folks over.
They also do crazy stuff like we've seen happen in Minnesota.
So that was a good interview. I've never seen those two together for an interview. Hey, Kim. What's going on? I got 10:30 to 12:30, and then I'll be back at 6. A lot of intel again. Three minutes. We played it.
Phrase that people hear over and over again, but actually very few people understand it. So let's talk about the facts. First, the phrase separation of church and state does not appear anywhere in the Constitution. It comes from a letter that was written by Thomas Jefferson, and it was meant to describe a limit on government power, not a limit on religious people. The First Amendment is very clear. It prevents the government from establishing an official religion, and it protects the free exercise of religion. In other words, the government cannot control faith, but faith is not banned from the public. Separation of church and state means the government can't control religion, not that religious people lose their right to speak on moral or civic issues. Religious Americans do not surrender their constitutional rights the moment they walk into a church, and pastors are allowed to speak about morality. Churches are allowed to engage in civic responsibility. People of faith are allowed to vote, advocate, and speak publicly based on their beliefs, just like everybody else. And here's the part we rarely talk about. Every law reflects moral values. Laws don't come from nowhere. Whether it's about life, family, education, healthcare, or freedom, someone's idea of right and wrong is always involved. So the real question isn't about whether morality belongs in public life, because it does. The real question is whose morality gets to shape our laws and who gets told to stay silent. Pastors in particular should be paying attention to what is happening today, because public policy doesn't stay in the halls of government. It reaches into families, schools, churches, and the lives of believers. So when laws and cultural shifts directly affect how Christians are allowed to live, worship, speak, and raise their children, silence isn't neutrality, it's neglect. Pastors are not being political when they help their congregations understand how current events impact their faith and freedoms. They're being responsible shepherds. That's not a violation of the Constitution. That's the free exercise of religion. And understanding the difference changes the entire conversation. So if you, like I have had this conversation over and over again about separation of church and state, share this with your friends.
Okay, that's another important video I got. Not sure. This 8-minute one, you guys, from Mark or Waters, Jesse Waters. And I got another 8-minute one.
Mother. The FBI is deploying task force specialists all across Arizona. A reward of $50,000 has been set for tips that lead to Nancy Guthrie's location. At this hour, the Guthrie family is waiting for proof of life. And Savannah's brother, Cameron, just released this video. Watch.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from
Sorry
you.
if I played
We
this
haven't heard
again, but I don't know how
directly.
many saw this.
We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
And in terms of suspects, the sheriff hasn't ruled anyone out.
And I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect. We're just not there. We're not there yet.
Tonight, there's some new details. On the alleged ransom note, it includes deadlines, and one of the clocks just ran out.
I think we start to look at what the deadlines were in the note. First, I think it was 5 o'clock today. And then it had a second deadline after that. So we are continuing in a normal kidnapping case, there would be contact by now trying to discuss that. But those are the timeframes we are looking at as we move forward. I think a second demand was for next Monday.
The first deadline's passed, and as far as we know, the supposed kidnappers haven't proved Nancy Guthrie's alive. Here's how it all started on Saturday night. Nancy Guthrie took an Uber to her daughter's house nearby. The daughter's named Annie. She lives with her husband, Tommaso. Dinner, games, normal night. At 9:48, a family member dropped her back off at home. But who?
We know she took an Uber to Annie's house, but can you confirm whether it was Annie or her son-in-law, Tommaso, who took her home that night?
I think the timeline that the sheriff provided was a family member, but
Just family.
Yeah.
We're going to go with family.
Why won't they tell us which family member dropped her off? Because yesterday, the sheriff told the New York Times who it was. Quote, Miss Guthrie's son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, dropped her off and ensured she made it inside safely before leaving, the sheriff added. Now, if they know who dropped her off, why a day later are they being so vague? At 1:47 a.m., Nancy's doorbell camera disconnects. Authorities say it was physically removed, and it's still missing. Just 25 minutes later, at 2:12 a.m., security software flags a person on a camera, but there's a problem.
At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up.
Just 16 minutes after a person's detected at her house, the pacemaker app connected to her phone was disconnected. Makes sense because her phone was left behind. Now, Sunday morning, Nancy doesn't show up for church. Unusual for her. By noon Sunday, family members go in to check on her, and she's not there, and the police are called. Investigators say the case is now entering a critical forensic phase. They've also confirmed blood was found at the house, and they know who it belongs to.
I think you all know of the blood on the porch. That was one we did. It came back to Nancy.
They're reviewing surveillance video from nearby homes, cell tower data, and license plate cameras. But no Nancy. She lives in a remote Arizona desert community. Homes spaced far apart, surrounded by desert foliage. As for the ransom note, investigators haven't ruled out a hoax. There was a third ransom note, but it turned out to be fake, linked back to Derek Calleja. He demanded Bitcoin from the Guthries. One local news anchor whose station received a different note, the one that authorities are locked in on, says the details were terrifying.
a lot of it is information that only someone who is holding her for ransom would know. Some very sensitive information and things that people who weren't there when she was taken captive would know.
Investigators say the letter included no proof of life and no way to contact whoever sent it.
There has been no proof of life, and there was no other demands within that letter. So they're still waiting for communication.
Does the ransom note that you're working establish any communication protocols?
No, it does not.
Harvey Levin at TMZ just spoke to CNN. He received the same ransom note. Here's what he said.
They began the letter. I don't think I'm giving anything away here. They began the letter by saying that that Nancy is okay but scared. So they say she is okay, and also that she's aware of the letter and the demands.
Time's of the essence, and mistakes may have been made. Authorities initially cleared the scene, Nancy's house. Then yesterday, they went back in.
You had the crime scene process. You said you went back out there. Your partners wanted to see it, but you guys were actively taking out evidence yesterday. Was there something you missed the first time, or did you get a new piece of information that led you to believe you needed to go back out and take more than you had that first day?
We may go out to a crime scene and think we've got it all, go analyze evidence, and something comes back and says, hey, did you check this? We're not going to just say, oops, and not go. Absolutely. In this instance, it really was the FBI just wanted to go, hey, can we take a look at it?
The sheriff cleared the crime scene before the FBI even arrived and didn't have deputies posted at the house. Apparently, reporters were just strolling right up to the door and taking pictures of blood stains, contaminating the crime scene. We also aren't getting clear answers as to whether there were signs of forced entry. At first, sources told the AP it was forced entry. Now, the sheriff says this.
Oh, here's the other thing. Someone had mentioned there was forced entry. I have no clue where that comes from. We have been very consistent. We are not discussing that at all, whether it's forced entry or not forced entry. That is something we're just not discussing. So I don't know where anybody got that information.
So the sheriff won't tell us whether there was forced entry or not. He probably has his reasons. If there was no forced entry, then someone knew how to get inside. Maybe somebody was already there when she was dropped off. We don't even know if Nancy locked her doors.
I think so.
She entered through the garage, and 2 minutes passed before the garage closed. Was someone laying in wait? We don't know. We spotted this last night. It's called a Celebrite device, high-tech equipment used to extract data from phones and computers. Agents brought it over to Savannah's sister's house yesterday. That's where the siblings recorded their emotional video. Was the FBI searching the Guthrie's family phones? Quite possible. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. It is incredibly rare to kidnap someone in their 80s. 0.2% of kidnappings are people of that age. If this was about money, why send ransom notes to TMZ? Why not go directly to the Guthrie family? And why not include a way to contact them? Last night, the Guthries begged for answers.
We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
At this point, the only thing keeping the family's spirit up is hope.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting case there. That's the latest on that. Moving on to the next few more videos. She got a new one out today, just a little bit ago.
Video that I made yesterday about Savannah Guthrie. Wow, after all the support that I got, I really appreciate it. For all of you that understood my entire point of my video, which was when you talk about defunding the police, defunding ICE, and you give no national attention to women who have been abducted by illegals, but you get a national attention for your mother who was abducted, and then the person that helps you is the same person that you and your network slammed for years and years. That was my point.
She's another good one.
So
there.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
All the liberals that come on my post, and of course the typical liberal response, nothing concrete, nothing constructive, just, hey, you look like a drag queen, hey, Chucky's bride, hey, you're a pedo lover. You know, they all got the Japanese cartoon meme as their profile picture. They've all got like 18 followers. And, you know, that don't bother me. I just block them. And the ones that say to unalive ICE, TikTok doesn't violate them. So we're working on another way on those. But you know what bothers me is you guys, my supporters, my Trump people that are coming on here saying now's not the time. You give conservatives a bad name. How dare you? This is her mama that's missing. This is the wrong time. Let me ask you something. When is the right time? When is the right time? I thought the right time to point out the fact that Trump, after they have slammed him for years, was going to send all federal resources. I thought that was the right time to talk about it as he was doing it. Okay. So for all of you that cannot understand, the point of my video was not about, ha, 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 you talked about Trump. Now you got your karma. That is nowhere near what I intended. And I think if you've watched my videos, you will know if I intended that, I will fucking say it because I'm not afraid to say it. My point of my video was, will you now start giving national attention to women who have been abducted and unalived by illegals? Will you now stop talking bad about ICE agents? Will you now stop spreading lies about our president? Will you now stop saying defund the police? That was the whole point of my video. It wasn't about, ha ha, your mama's gone because you talk bad about Trump. What the fuck, guys? I wouldn't bring that bad onto me. So for all of you that are sitting here saying now is not the time, let me remind you that the moment that Charlie Kirk flipped back from being shot in the neck, 2 seconds later, they were talking about what a horrific person he was and how divisive he was and what a lowlife he was. Then he went after his wife. Okay. For all of you saying this is her mama, give her a break. Rachel Moran was a mama. Laken Riley had a mama. And all the other mamas whose daughters are gone, who lost their kids on the highway to the illegals that don't have a regular CDL, that don't know how to drive, they all had mamas. So don't come at me telling me that this is not the time. You don't tell me when is the time. We are past the time of speaking up, honey. We have sat back and shut our mouth for a long time. And for all of you that didn't know, just for food for thought, Nancy Guthrie was a rabid Trump hater. Okay? I have seen the things that she has tweeted out and put out. I have seen it. And yet, President Trump, the good man that he is, offering all assistance. So thank you all for everybody who supported me. And for all the rest of you, hit the block button, bitches.
Okay, another good one. I got another new lady we've been following lately. A short clip.
Two minutes. I'm sorry I'm so late, guys. Ended up getting a terrible migraine last night. So this morning I had to go to the doctor and I got a Toradol shot, right? Migraine shot. And then I took a nap because I had no other choice. Unfortunately, with my Botox, I can only get that every 3 months for my chronic migraines. And because my metabolism is so high, it actually wears out on month 2, right? So for the whole last month, I suffer from chronic migraines where I wake up with a migraine and I go to bed with one. So it looks like I'll be taking a lot of Toradol naps. So that should be fun for us. So sorry. Anyway, let's get to the news. Right? It looks as though Ryan Rao is out here getting a life sentence for trying to assassinate President Trump. I can't wait to see what his psychotic daughter has to say. She's just as gross as he is. Anyway, looks as though the anti-ICE there in Minneapolis, right? The residents are becoming the Gestapo that they're talking about, right? They call ICE Gestapo. They actually have community checkpoints now where blockades where they are actually forcing people to tell them why they are there, getting their driver's license and everything else. Seems wild, right? Anyway, looks as though Representative Maxine Waters is out here acting like a disturbed Alzheimer's patient. Why anybody allows that woman to talk on camera, I don't know, right? Scott Bassett was out there and she told him to shut up. He said, can't we just maintain some level of dignity? No, Scott. She's old as hell. She needs to be in a nursing home. She didn't care what she says. Anyway, that man there out of Wichita that we saw abduct a whole woman, right, by her Ring camera, right? 12 months probation they gave that dude on 2 counts of domestic battery and 1 count of criminal restraint. 12 months probation for Daniel Guevara. Anyway, looks as though there's a Kansas bill on free school lunches, right? We hear the name Cindy Holscher. She's apparently a Democrat that wants to run for governor because that's all Kansas needs, right? Anyway, Cindy is saying that if we have to verify income for students to receive free lunches, that students will starve to death. Well, Cindy, I think you should just go ahead and count yourself out of the race already because you're an idiot. And when the hell did it become one of those things where you didn't even have to do that? You know how much money I pay for school lunches for that trash that my kids don't even eat? But you just want it to be free for everybody, huh? I don't know, what do y'all think? Have a good day. Here is your news in under 2 minutes. Sorry I'm so late, guys. Ended up getting a terrible migraine last night. So this morning I had to go to the doctor and I got a Toradol shot, right?
Okay, another good one there. Okay, that heard something interesting, son. Thanks for sharing that, Angie. Got this one guy we just start following about 9 minutes.
For more than a few seconds, it gets very uncomfortable, very fast. 3 million pages didn't just add information. They forced people to confront something they'd rather not look at. This is classic. This is coping by avoiding, but avoiding is not going to make this problem go away.
I rarely post videos like this where it's just like a reaction to somebody, some other creators, like full video or whatever, but Kyle is about to explain exactly how and I feel like a lot of other people feel right now. Specifically myself, though. A lot of people have been asking, why aren't you creating more? Why aren't you talking about the Epstein files? Why isn't your whole account just constantly posting everything about the files that are coming out? And like every single day, people asking me, why aren't you talking more about the Epstein files? And watch this and you'll understand, but I'll build on that afterwards and explain even more why I'm not talking about the Epstein files. Watch this.
And the most disturbing part isn't one name or 10 names. It's the sheer scope of this whole thing. Politicians and billionaires, we already knew that, and celebrities, sure. And then you see doctors and musicians and social circles and ordinary seeming professionals orbiting something undeniably dark. And here's the part that people keep missing. You do not need every allegation to be true for this to matter. If even a fraction of this is real, then those crimes were known and documented and archived and consciously just not acted on. And once you accept that institutions can know about evil and choose silence, you understand why people shut down, why they minimize it, why they call it a hoax. Because accepting the alternative is psychologically brutal. It means the system isn't broken. It's intentional. It's functioning exactly the way it was built to function. Everyone wants this to be left versus right, and they want it to be clean, and they want a villain they already hate and a hero they already trust. They want to believe their side is innocent and the other side is corrupt. But power does not work like that. Power protects power. And when leaders spend years promising transparency, campaigning on releasing information, and then suddenly say, well, there's nothing here, just move on. I mean, that is collapsing trust in real time. And let's be honest, this isn't one party's failure. They didn't suddenly become a problem when the current administration took office. People were calling for accountability long before that. All sides benefited from silence. All sides looked away. You can see it in the delays, the missed deadlines, the redactions that don't make sense. I mean, I can understand redacting graphic material. I cannot understand redacting names tied to communications. And yes, I'll say this too. Some of what's been released feels off. Some emails read strangely, too many errors, and there's weird formatting. And it just seems like that's where people latch on and say, see, I don't know what to believe, so I'm just going to ignore all of it. But that's not how this works. If some of it is false, that does not erase what's true. Avoidance doesn't make a problem disappear. It makes it easier for power to keep doing what power does. And what actually breaks people is realizing this, that extremely dark, heinous acts can be known, verified, and absorbed into institutions without consequence. And it's certainly not because nobody knew, but it's because knowing didn't matter enough. That's why this isn't wall-to-wall news, and why the reaction isn't outrage, except amongst the people. It's just denial, because outrage would require action. And action would require admitting the system itself is compromised. I came to terms with this years ago, and it changed fundamentally how I live. When large systems show you they won't protect what's good, you stop outsourcing morality to them. You stop waiting to be saved. You stop believing someone else is just going to fix it. You focus on what you can actually control: your integrity, your family, your relationships, your standards. I heard this framed perfectly by Timur Poleg. When the world feels uncontrollable, the only sane response is to shrink your radius. Make peace with yourself, then with your partner, then with your kids, and with your neighbors, then your community. That ripple matters more than people realize. You clean up your own room before you try to fix society. Because if institutions won't enforce goodness, individuals have to embody it. Not quietly. We're talking loudly and relentlessly and without permission. This is no longer a conspiracy. It's a reckoning. And once you see it, the only real question left is this: what kind of person do you choose to be inside of a system you no longer trust?
The demoralization process of America is almost complete. And what I mean by that is part of the demoralization process is to create so much information every single day and so much noise that it gets to the point where people just say, you know what? There's nothing I can do, so I'm just going to continue to consume all this stuff. But it creates this vacuum of just constantly talking and never actually taking any action because it seems so insurmountable. It seems like there's literally just nothing we can do. And that's what these people want. They want us to feel, weak. They want us to feel hopeless. And something like these Epstein files creates hopelessness. It makes people feel like, how can I possibly move on knowing what I know now? And like Kyle said, it doesn't matter if even a fraction of these things are true. I'll tell you what, regardless of whether any of it's true or not, there is one thing that you can bank on, and that is that this administration, the previous administration, everybody who has ever talked about the Epstein files has lied to us, whether it's because they said they didn't exist, or they weren't what we thought they were, or it was a hoax, or it was the right wing or the left, like Democrats or Republicans, whatever it is. Every single one of them have lied to us at some point. And if you can't ask yourself, regardless of what side of the aisle you stand on, if you can't just simply ask yourself, why are these people lying about this?
Thanks, Kim.
And come to a very simple conclusion, then I don't know how to help you. But either way, the point is, we have gotten to a place where the number one thing that we can do is fortify ourselves, the people around us, our families, our communities. We have to be the opposite of the demoralization that's happening in this country right now. That is the only way we make it past this, because the noise, it doesn't matter. Why am I not posting about the Epstein stuff? Because I'm not going to be like everybody else and just jump on the content bandwagon. I don't create content just to create engagement. I don't do it for that. If I did, I would be talking about every single new thing that comes out every other day, but I don't. I'm very selective about the things I talk. But if you want to be a part of this, and do not waste my time or yours, if you want to be a part of this, comment Exodus below. Talk about why. Because I truly want to bring awareness to people. But there's something important you need to understand, and that is you have to be aware but not consumed. So many people are allowing this awareness to consume them completely. And it is creating exactly what these people, what the elites, what all the people in the Epstein files want. The thing you need to ask yourself is, what do they not want us to be looking at or paying attention to or thinking about? That's usually the goal. That's usually the end game. But hey, I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
Sorry if I played that. I can't remember if I played it or not. Who was that? Huh? Huh? Who's that? Okay, a couple more. Okay. They're watching you, Chico. God darn it. Thanks, you guys. Buzz. No mail yet.
Working on obtaining this indictment. We arrested 2 more, and I made it very clear, if you protested, if you rioted in that church, we are going to find you and we're going to arrest you. Don Lemon and 8 others have now been charged in a single indictment because you cannot attack, and that's what it was. It was an attack style on a house of worship. Can't do it. It was a Sunday morning. There were parishioners, there were families, there were grandparents, there were people with canes, there were children upstairs in the nursery. They bombarded in, and as Don Lemon put it in his own words, they were on their way to a resistance at that church. And that's exactly what they did. They had a resistance operation. They barged in that church. There were originally about 400 people in that church. The video you're now showing, a lot of them ran out the back door. The lucky ones were able to get out. These people will say these parishioners thought they were going to get shot. One of the people with Don Lemon screamed, quote, "This ain't a house of worship. This is the house of the devil." There were children crying. There were parents blocked from getting upstairs to take their children out of Sunday school. A group of women ran out a side door. Multiple people fell on the ice. One woman severely damaged her arm, had to go to the hospital. Don Lemon blocked someone from going out that door. They were screaming at parishioners. It was horrible. No American, we don't live in a third world country. We live in the United States of America, and you will have the right to worship safely and freely in a house of worship, whether it's a church, a synagogue, a temple, a mosque, any house of worship in this country, you will be safe. And these people committed a crime under the FACE Act, and they will be held accountable. 9 of them have been charged, and you will not do this in our country. We're coming after you if you do this, because we are going to protect houses of worship. This is not what our country was founded on. Yeah, Sean, I've been in Minnesota 4 days total.
Okay. That's going to wrap it up. I'll save all the other stuff for tonight. Yep, we got some short ones to do tonight. Everybody have a good afternoon and good weekend if I don't see you tonight in the weekend. Kay must have been tied up today. Carol, Tim, Lucy, and Flying Eagle must be at work. A lot of people are at work. Hopefully they'll be listening. So we got the update from Attorney General and the judge cast today. Latest X2 report. And that train wreck. All right. God bless everybody. Love all. Please like go to the description box and please sub to the backup. Thank you. And God bless. Stay safe. Stay strong. Keep the faith and never give up. Signing off, Chico Dude. For a few hours. Get him all rustled up. And we'll see you back at 6. Thanks, Tim. Have a good afternoon, you guys. We'll see you back at 6.